other mindset, and we are facing now like a time for change, where maybe the principals, the CEOs, the VPs, they don't know where they want to go, but at least they have a vision of what we need to accomplish. And in order to that, we have been facing certain conversations with them, where we listen what they think they could need, what they think they could use for the people that it's currently working on products. Mm-hmm. We have a really strong vision about the products that we are building, but we have people in the product part, in the mid-level, that they try to get better results and try to innovate, but they don't know how to. And that's how we started to get some lessons for them in a product owner, product management vision. Yeah, it's more like a champions, but the thing is that gaining trust with them, and these people is just organically talking about us with the VPs, with everyone, that we're currently doing a good job of transforming the company. So we didn't even have the necessity of doing a huge presentation, going with the VPs and tell them, hey, we are trying to change this. The people within the organization, the people inside the organization is already talking about us. So
that's good. That's really good.
We are trying to get small pieces of people, small groups of people that could be also change agents that now are getting involved with us. And that is giving us strength in order when we have this necessity of going with the VP level, that we currently have enhanced not just the product vision as well, but the tools that the people that deliver products are using. So it's really amazing how you start just listening by the tools that you're giving us, because it becomes easy to understand the people, the beliefs of people, and how you can just translate that to solutions. That's in a glance what I have been working during the week.
So what kind of words can you share with us today that trigger for you guys an opportunity to either improve something or get with someone, or that made you understand a lot more your environment? What do you listen for? What kind of words do you guys listen to? Remember, we spoke about trigger words, right? So it's important that what were you listening for when you listened? What do you experience there? What words triggered for you in the conversations?
Well, I would like to body language. We talk the last session. It's important. I had a meeting with a guy in charge of one of the business unit, which is successful in the group what I support. And the body language, I could see that. And the first time in this meeting, it was the, how do you say, braços cruzados. He was, yes, because it is not the first time one agile team is trying to connect with these guys. Yeah, it's maybe the fourth or maybe. So we create a presentation with these highlights in one page. So how to connect this small success in terms of IT groups, which is a reality, which is now something that is sounding, it's a highlight in this organization, how to move to a complete vision in the business unit. So it was interesting for him. Why? Because nowadays we are now supporting IT groups. It's good. It's successfully, but how to connect with the big picture that this guy has in his mind? How to connect was interesting for him. It was very good. very, very good. So after this meeting, we discussed together about to understand more OKRs, KPIs, and in general the strategy that I have for this year and the next 2 years ahead. I think it was a very successful meeting. I think the connection, I think the interesting topics for him is right now. So we need to connect with the strategic, tactic, and operational plan, and do it together. This is a resume of the experience in this week.
Luis, in this meeting that you had with that senior person, how do you know it was successful? What did you see and what did you hear in that meeting?
He started to show us some processes which are important for him. He started to open some a conversation about what he expects about IT, where we have teams, coaches. So it was there was a smile in his face, and he was interested in going forward with conversations, and the intention of those talks was include the whole organization, well, at least the heads of these business units, to go on with this conversation. I think that's why I think it was a success meeting.
It was like a follow-up.
Sorry.
It's going to be important that as you mature, that you mentioned that the executive wanted to include others, right? So you mentioned a lot about his mannerisms and his behavior, right? So the key now is try to capture the words that trigger that behavior. Try to, if you hear the word, let's include, try to capture those things, become aware of incluyamos, queremos que, imposible, increíble. You have to be more aware when we are trying to do this exercise. I'm not sure, but when we started doing that, I used to get headaches. And sweat a lot. So I used to just not be able to think because it was so much energy and focused to actually get into that level of listening. And then being able to go back to the team, do the daily retro or the moment after retro and talk about it. It was really difficult for me because I had to raise a sensor. It's like a sensor in your car. If you're not listening for the words to learn, when you hear this word, you create a new mental model. Because now you are building a map, a meaning map, that is going to help you accelerate your next steps to helping that person or that area. So practice this week. Very, very closely practice that. Listen for the words that match the behavior. Then you're going to see a strengthening or a validation. Okay? Because sometimes we hear some things and the behavior says something else. Make sense? So those are the things. That's why sometimes Ross was looking for the words. I was looking for behavior. And we used to talk to each other. And we used to say, man, he didn't seem very interested. But he said this. And then we were able to actually assess how we were doing in that conversation and what we could improve. Because there are opportunities when you hear those words for you to plant a seed. When someone says something that is a triggering conversation, they open themselves. That's the opportunity for you to get in and the opportunity for you to know what seed to plant. So we need to be very aware. Practice listening for the words that make you say, oh, let me say this, and then stop yourself, think, and then speak. So that's the kind of stuff I'd like you to practice, and then come back and tell us about your experience. Tell us about the conversation and how you felt. And if you can note the words, he said this, this is what he said, and this is what he meant to me.
Speaking of that, I got one keyword there when I was talking with the VP guy. He used it several times, the word product and non-delivery and non-innovation. So, and he was referring also to the competence too much. So what I got from that he knew that the product creation was the most important thing that we had right now. And then I started thinking, well, if the product is the most important thing for him and they want to change but they don't know how to change, then who or where should we start then to help that the organization start doing better products? And when we turned it down and we said, well, of course, product managers and product owners, because they are the ones that usually needs to innovate and needs to start creating or thinking about products or the competence as well. And we started talking with certain product managers, and then we started doing these courses, these learning sessions. And it was something that I don't know if you ever guys seen the impact mapping. I quite not remember the name of the guy that wrote the book, but it's just to that. I mean, they have a vision, they have an objective, they have a vision. You have people, and the people have impacts, and then you can know the impact it's correct or not, or it's good for the environment or not, and then you can create an initiative that goes right straight that to the impact. So my initiative was aiming to the impact that they needed better products, and those products were something that the product department needs to do, and that goes with the vision that well, they have a say or they have a goal that it's called a clip in every merchant, a clip in every channel. So they are basically trying to sell a lot of devices. And the thing is that they need to innovate because there's a lot of competition. But that's the only key.
The key is that try to keep yourself simple. Okay, I got a headache in those days. So the key is making sure that you keep yourself simple. Listen to the words, note them, see what behavior matches that word, and then you begin to articulate a mental map that will help your team, that will help you and your team to get better when dealing in that environment. So that's the key aspects of it. So you're going to learn more as you go. It's going to open new doors. So the important thing is that you already have a head start. Okay. So when you continue to move forward, you're going to see that you are going to begin to react to the environment a lot more fluently as you continue to practice that. We spoke about our environment for success. We spoke about the actual accountable leaders.
I have many ideas about what the environment for success is, but I'm not sure if it's correct. But let me give you an example. When I try to implement or when I try to connect this with my reality right now with this client, I'm not sure any case is the same environment. I see that a little bit of success in some parts of these business units is getting us to this conversation that I had last week. What exactly was the environment that we created, and if we did it well or not? When I put this understanding in practice, I am not sure how to, without no structure, really.
Last week, when we spoke about the environment for success and the accountable leaders, and also the other components of accountability within the environment for success, do you feel like you understood that?
Well, maybe not exactly how do we use it, but how do we create this environment?
Okay, how do we first identify the environment for success? Making sure that you understand where you are at in that environment. Last week, we spoke about the environment for success having a support structure, and we have an execution structure. It's a lower level of where most of the work is done, where most of the teams are. We spoke a little bit about having another section here in the middle where the people that have almost like a dual responsibility to the environment because they recycle up and down through the environment. And this is one of the most difficult set of roles that exists within the environment. Is first understand where you are at in that environment for success. Most of the organizations that we are trying to help come from a very traditional hierarchical structure. Because of that is somewhat easier to understand how they operate, where the teams are, how the teams relate, who do they communicate to, why, what are the hierarchies within this structure. So most of the times, it's very simple to identify how they are organized, even as agile teams. Most of the time, it's very simple to see. It's important that you understand that one of the first things we want to do after we start engagement and we form the team is that we need to understand where we are at in the big picture, understand how the execution of the practices and the recommended practices is going to be executed by the team. In here, these three areas, the support structure, the execution structure, when we are engaging as a team, that we remain connected to the big picture, remain connected to the support structure. What is the highest level of support we have? And from that standpoint, then you can begin to map your environment and then identify the environment for success from which you can begin the execution or begin the engagement with a more formal approach. And you understand who you're going to work with and where you're going to work with and what areas you're going to try to target. What level of agility, what axis of agility are we going to focus on? Perhaps clarity, perhaps is visibility.
Meeting was interesting because I remember very well. There was three trigger words that I could see, that I could hear. Sorry. First one was budget. Second one was return of investment. And the third one was be inclusive with other areas in these business units. I think but it was very interesting that in this meeting, I have an influencer, and at the same time, I had the head of this business unit. One was interested in operational things. The other one was very interesting in strategical things. So it was good. In general, it was good, but it's very clear that each one has a vision, maybe different or not, but interested into the ongoing of the responsibility each one has in the company.
Got it. And now that you mentioned those three things, those are really good trigger words: budget and include the rest of the organization, and also return on investment. So, because of those three are huge triggers that you can use as an opportunity to engage closer with that executive. Now you have an understanding of what's important to them. So it is going to be important that we know what do those trigger words mean to us as coaches, and then understanding obviously what is important for them. Now, what is important to us as coaches? Opportunities for us to bring us closer to that person, that role, right? Opportunity for us to articulate an approach to how to answer those questions, so give him clarity to those three things that are important to him, right? So we can begin to prioritize how we're going to be talking to that person, how we're going to present when we present something to them, when we converse with them. We have to make sure that we leverage that, right? So there's a number of things. Cool. There are a number of things that we can actually do with that. So when you get back with the team and you have those conversations and you identify that as the important thing, and the upper right corner is the coaching team, on the upper left corner is the coaching team, and then we have the environment where we're going to actually engage with. You can see here in the middle, that area that I put the BBRR there. I put it right in the very middle. And also putting here, because these are the roles that have some responsibility to the upward and responsibility to the downward. So those responsibilities expanded that section, opening a little more obvious that instead of a line, now we have a bridge that we built here. And here's what I think the structures, based on what I'm learning and the things I'm doing right now, the influencers are very, very heavy in this area. Why did I call them influencers? It's because these are the people that have very little to no power. However, they rely on a very heavy influencing structure, that people that believe in them, people that understands them, people that follow them, even though they have no power, meaning no role. Like, for example, they may not have a business card that says director, but they have a lot of influence because they know how to get things done. And in that spot is where we find most of the resistance. So I'm clarifying that structure a little more in the middle, and I'm adding the influencers there. The key now is that once we identify this, the actual environment for success includes all of the roles that have explicit and or implicit responsibility towards the transformation. So all of those roles, top down, once we have those people, the sponsors and the stakeholders identified, and we understand where they are in the hierarchy of the environment, then we identify that as the environment for success. It could be large and split into pieces, or it could be a single simple structure. It all depends on how we see the level of support. So the higher the level of support, the easier it's going to be to identify the environment itself. So anything above that, we tend to have problems changing. Anything below them, we tend to have more potential for changing.
You know, I like the inclusion of the influencers, starting to talk about those people who do influence, but may not have a role in the hierarchy that allows them to have such influence. I see that all the time. I'm dealing with that right now. And that is an area where I've got a lot of resistance. And I think how I'm getting through that is really to understand, in regards to the BBRR, we're seeing their behavior. Their behavior is moving in such a way that they're influencing others. What we really need to get to is what their beliefs are. And that's how we can connect to them. And if we can connect to them, connect to their energy based on their beliefs, then we've got influencers on our side. And that's a good position to be in. I like the inclusion of the influencers on this.
So it's going to be important that we learn how to do this very early, very quickly as a team. Going into the engagement, identifying the environment, identifying the roles, mapping ourselves, or identifying that middle tier of resistance, and then how to leverage these roles of influencers in your conversation. So that is all strategy. That is how we ended the last week, saying, let's be strategic about how we coach as a team. It's going to be even more important as we move forward, guys, to incorporate, look at the different things that you guys did here. You know, this is most of your comments. We have to listen to this environment. How are we listening for those words, for that behavior? We need to show the empathy, saying that we need to get connected with these people very quickly, or as quickly as possible, in a very genuine way. I don't think empathy can be expressed without being genuine. Also, need to be humble, meaning it's not about us. So we have to be very humble as to understanding that the credit goes to the people we are working for. Let them take the credit. Let them look good for what is happening. Help them look good in their role. Make their role as something important in your day to day. And you'll help them do whatever is necessary to ensure that the transformation goes in a very healthy way for them and for the organization. You elevate the level of engagement when you care about them. Understanding what's in there for them is going to be also a key aspect of executing within this environment. What about this image? Do you feel, let's say first, comfortable talking about? What about this structure that we use, this concept that we are explaining here? What about this do you like and you feel comfortable with? And what about it you do have some questions about?
I have some troubles to match when I'm in front of the client, and I need to structure more for be secure that we are doing the right things. I think it's a challenge. It's clear when you explain it. We need to implement in practice, but in general, in my case, I understand and I feel comfortable. I think we will discover with this kind of session when we have a retrospective between us. It will be easier to match this with the reality that I live right now.
I think it's easier for certain organizations to notice that how these structures conform. For example, at Clip, which is a small company that started fintech, but now it's growing too fast. So it's basically made about 200 people here in Mexico. So it's really easy to notice what's the support part and what's the execution part. But I cannot imagine though, when you go to a larger organization, how you can connect or how you can just start putting or knowing people that comes for the support part and the execution part. And I think that there would be a little bit challenging to know who are the influencers, because there are too much interaction in the organization and too much areas. So I think that you can segment, and then you can try to apply this framework to that and start building this map for the people that it's working currently there. But I think it would be a challenging thing to go to a larger organization. And it depends on if you go also to an organization that it's, I don't know, maybe global. What Eric explained to us last session, this framework can just go to every level of the organization. And I think that he's right, because you need to segment that in order to know who are the supporters, who are the guys that manage actually the portfolio. I don't know. It's really interesting how you can connect this to any organization. It doesn't matter if it's big or small.
Just to imagine the guy we were talking last week, one layer higher is responsible in a structure for 24,000 people. So it's complex.
Yeah.
It's complex, and we don't even know better how they work, but we will discover soon, I think. That's the intention. That's in the dialogue with this guy. So I think we will discover some things. We need and want to start small and to grow up in an organic way. Without this, it's very complex to show or offer solutions when we don't even understand very well the structure. We are going through this process.
Have we spent some time with these guys talking about the three key things that we need? The rope, which is the roles, cadence, and backlogs?
Not yet. We have not spoken about what scaling is all about, or how is scaling validated or prepared for validation. Those are the three aspects that we actually need to ensure that they understand. I can see the connection here.
Because what I hear them talking about is the much larger scale.
Yeah.
And I know we probably haven't gotten into scaling yet, and that's evidenced by what you just told me. We need to introduce that to them because it's foundational, of course. But then I guess to finish off my other part of my thought is that visualization of what's happening in the backlogs and who's responsible. If you remember the big visible boards that we created at USAA.
Oh, yeah.
Those are things that help us get a handle on top of thousands of people, the influence across many people.
I've shared with them a lot of those things. However, I think what I hear today is the level of thinking where we are at right now. We are still thinking that within the execution realm, and that's where they are currently at right now, and not necessarily thinking in the big picture of the complete environment. So I think system thinking conversations are going to be very important right now for the team, because Luis, Israel, and then the rest of the team, when you start listening to this video, it's going to be very important that you learn how to catch yourself thinking the traditional coaching role, and let's think strategic a little more. So we need to make sure that right now we are not in the execution mode. We are trying to paint a picture. In this step, we are trying to paint a picture of how much scope in people or in area or in region we are going to have to navigate through while we are at a client or at a company we work at. So how much scope is that? And also, what is the best possible way to navigate that structure, that part of the company? Okay, so Luis mentioned something in reference to the leader above the executive has responsibility of 24,000 people. At that point, the more that we try to understand, the better, because the structure is so large. It's going to be very important that we can actually begin to understand how that structure looks like today. Russ, if you recall, when we first started, one person gave us some data, another person gave us some data, and then we began to ask questions and connect the dots. And before you know it, we had a structure already mapped out in our whiteboard. We knew what train was what train, potential trains, potential groups, and we begin to put stakeholders and change names. So we need to ensure that it's a very intentional exercise, guys. And you're there to help that executive that said the word return on investment. Okay, return on investment is a very large trigger word. So we're talking a system. You need to be able to communicate within a system how to return investment and make those connections. Build the value creation process, visualize it, like Ross said. We need to understand that. So yes, there are many components I'd like for you guys to continue to go into that Ross mentioned. You see this corner on the top right, that's 1, 2, and 3. Those are us. We need to have a level of clarity in understanding where we are working at. And we need to be strategic about approaching mapping this out. So we cannot ignore it. This is something we cannot ignore. Otherwise, you will be feeling like you are everywhere and nowhere. And then we begin to spin our wheels. Once we have focused on the area that we are going to create impact on, or introduce change, or introduce any new number of techniques and practices, then you'll be able to measure better whether or not you have done certain things and for what reason. This is going to be important that you guys understand this very clearly. As we go forward, you're going to see the different other components of the concepts on the implementation model that will give you some idea as to how to customize them and how to connect these dots. But in order for us to further the understanding of the needs for these concepts to be evaluated and put into action, we have 3 areas of consideration for scaling. And the first one is we have a backlog, we have a cadence, and we have roles. Okay. So you remember this. It's very important that you guys understand this. Without these 3 things aligned, you won't be able to scale. It's going to be very difficult we need to align these three things. We need to align backlogs, cadence, and roles.
It sounds like 3-month planning sessions.
No, I think it's refer more about, well, the backlog thing could be initiatives, portfolio, not just hierarchy level, but mid-level and also execution level. And cadence could be more related. I don't know if I'm just saying something wrong, but I think that cadence is how the execution of those backlog items actually occur in the organization. And I think the roles are just like focusing on the people as well. How the people, how the leaders, how the management people that now are getting another role are going to be implementing or using that. And I think that when you align those things, and I think that Luis was referring to the outcome more than like each step. It was when you have those things aligned, you can do this quarterly planning, and it becomes easier to scale because you have three things going just for the same vision or the same goal.
So you have to align those. The backlog speaks to the North Star, the objective, anything. In order for us to scale through a large number of an organization portfolios, regardless of what you call it, it doesn't matter if it is trains or tribes or chapter. It doesn't matter how we call it. In order for us to understand and repeat a process that says we want to scale this across the organization, there are those three dimensions that need to be well understood and aligned. Some organizations may have a more organic way of looking and working in chaos that looks like chaos, but they are not, right? So they might not have the structure of top layer, middle layer, lower layer well defined or intentionally designed that way. However, those three things will always exist. People will be working on a specific backlog or objective. People will have to be in alignment on how they execute towards that. And people will also need to understand what the roles and responsibilities are to those objectives and how those roles and responsibilities then together form the teams that are needed for a solution that's large, small, or medium, whatever that is. So we need to understand those three things in order for you to scale. The important thing now is that we are getting deeper into connecting these dots. And I like it that Ross brought that idea of bringing you the exposure to those three things, because in the environment for success that we identified in the last week, in that environment, you're going to see that there are roles across that structure and there are backlogs. There's focusing, alignment across that structure of multiple different ways. And there are also a set of cadences that make that structure work. If we don't have clarity of it, if we fail to have that level of clarity on the structure, we will only be sub-optimizing the area and not preparing for scaling. It's really important that we understand those two concepts. Remember this, we can sub-optimize or we can plan for scaling across the organization. Look at the big system. Everyone has to be connected to the system. Otherwise, it's not a system. In some way or another, the company is all connected. They all point towards common goals. We need to ensure that we understand that structure, and that structure has those three things in common. There are backlogs of work that point to objectives, let it be operational, strategic, global, regional, whatever those are, depending on how high we are working within the structure. We'll see that. We have cadences. Those people need to do certain things in a rhythm from which will execute to those objectives. There's a rhythm there. It doesn't happen in disorder. It happens in balance. That rhythm is what we call the new way of working. It's like dancing. got to make sure that we don't step on each other's toes when we're dancing. But if you're learning how to dance, you're not dancing well, you step on each other's toes. It's not enjoyable. What brings that rhythm into a level of that we can say we are truly dancing is when we begin to practice that new way of working. We practice dancing and we don't step on each other's toes. That is the cadence. Cadence gives you the rhythm. And the roles and responsibilities gives you the boundaries. Who are the people that need to be where to solve or deliver value? To solve a problem or deliver value. You know who to put together, which teams need to be put together. You know how often they need to meet, how often they have to deliver in order to achieve the goal, and you have clarity of the goal. Those three things, without those three things, there's no scaling. If you are doing that kind of stuff, all this OKR work, and there's no cadence, forget it. It will fail. It will fail because it will fail. If you are executing your own cadence, but you don't have clarity of objectives, there will be no value delivered. If you have the clarity of objectives and you have a rhythm, but you don't have the right people together, you are not going to deliver anything. If you don't have those three things in alignment, doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter. We are there to put those three ropes together, give them rhythm. That's our niche. That's what we do. So I hope that is making sense for you guys. Luis, I see you like spinning a lot. It's like you are like, oh my God, like this, like, this is something that I'm not sure. Spit it out.
We need to be strategic and clinch. Sin duda, el reto que tenemos acá es huge. Y bueno, vamos a ver cómo jugamos rápidamente en los terrenos, ¿no? Yo creo que algo que en lo general en ese ambiente del que hablamos, la confianza es un tema que ya se ha ido creando y creo que tenemos herramientas, pero hace falta comprometer también a las áreas que están alrededor, de que estemos trabajando en la misma línea, con los mismos objetivos y no equivocarnos en las ganas de hacer cosas, ¿no?
Avoid being busy. Eviten simplemente estar ocupados. Otra vez, backlog. El backlog representa muchas cosas, ¿ok? ¿Qué representa el backlog? Representa la estrella norte, the North Star, la intención estratégica, strategy, representa operaciones, qué tengo que hacer operativamente, representa dirección de trabajo de lo táctico, cómo vamos a hacer. El backlog representa lo más claro que un backlog esté, lo más relevante esté, lo mejor vas a poder alinear tu gente a que lo ejecute. Esas son las ideas, uno de los puntos en backlog. El otro es cadencia, cadence. Cadence es rhythm. Señores, bailar, rhythm. Conversar es un rhythm. Ahora mismo nosotros tenemos un rhythm. Las últimas 4 o 6 semanas hemos establecido ¿qué? Cadence. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Están entendiendo?
Ritmo.
Entonces,
Sí.
yo voy a poder escalar, tener en un futuro 100, 200 consultores con un core de consultores en Sendo en un año sin estas sesiones. ¿Ustedes creen que eso va a suceder sin Cadence?
No.
¿De dónde va a caer el cielo?
No.
Sería muy difícil.
No importa si es tan pequeño o tan grande sea. Entonces, Cadence es importante, señor. Es ritmo. Ritmo. Esto representa la nueva forma de trabajo. The new way of working. ¿Por qué? Nos asociamos a la nueva forma de trabajo cuando tenemos que ir a trabajar todos los días a hacer algo. Esa es nuestra conexión al trabajo, es ir, ya sé qué voy a hacer, cuándo lo voy a hacer, ¿Con quién voy a hablar? Muchas personas no saben ni por qué lo están haciendo. Simplemente van a hacer 1, 2 y 3 y se van a su casa, ¿cierto? Para que puedas decir estás implementando un cambio para poder darle la vuelta a los pistones del carro, no puedes mover un pistón a la vez. Ahora ahí es donde te voy a introducir creo que tenía un libro aquí que quería enseñarles hoy. Tienen que ver de que el cambio que queremos introducir tiene un mínimo nivel de exposición. En otras palabras, la taza esta que no sé si pueden verme, ¿sí? Ok.
Sí.
En otras palabras, hay ciertas cosas que no podemos dejar fuera de la foto, como mínimo. Hay ciertas cosas que podemos dejar un pedacito nada más y el resto es implícito. Posiblemente es una taza, pero en la transformación, en el esfuerzo que estamos tratando de hacer, el cambio es tan radical, que tenemos que saber cuánto es el mínimo, no el máximo. A veces le queremos poner todo, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál es el mínimo que saludablemente debemos exponer al cliente para que ese mínimo sea lo suficiente para escalar?
Impacto.
Si nosotros vamos, ok, Ari, empezamos y no tenemos estratégicamente cómo vamos a conectar esos OKRs a la cadencia, a los roles apropiados, ¿qué va a aparecer? Que no sabemos lo que estamos haciendo. Simplemente estamos predicando OKRs. El mínimo tiene que ser esos 3 cordones. Backlogs, cadencia, roles y responsabilidades. Enseña los 3 cordones. Y cuando tengas la estructura del Environment for Success, ejecuta los 3 cordones. Ya sea de abajo hacia arriba, de arriba hacia abajo, del medio hacia los 2 lados, como quieran, se cayó. Lo importante, señores, es de que sin ser estratégico al respecto, se les va a caer esto y van a quedar mal. No es porque lo estoy diciendo que no saben, estoy diciendo es porque ya lo he vivido. Otros componentes de esta conversación que se van a dar cuenta que pronto también tenemos la responsabilidad de poder leverage las personas que están dentro del Environment for Success en esta ejecución, plantar las semillas para que cada uno de sus roles a través de la estructura empuje el cordón. Es la soga completa. Todos están entendiendo eso.
Sí. Hace muchas cosas que ya me han visto.
Quiero que se identifiquen ustedes muy claramente. Ahora, un paso atrás. Ya tenemos el Environment for Success, la lista de Accountable Leaders, tenemos la estructura de soporte, la estructura de influencers, tenemos la área de ejecución. Mira, todos esos conceptos, ¿verdad? Lo identificamos, lo documentamos por una razón. A medida que ustedes van a ver que vamos a tener como 17 diferentes conceptos, los cuales no podemos ignorar en una transformación. Y cuando vayamos y entendamos esos 17 puntos como equipo, ya se considera un SWAT team. Cuando ya podamos decir, hey, no hicimos esto, sabemos si esto es el dolor, si esto es lo que ustedes viendo, esto es lo que no hicimos. Y lo tengo totalmente documentado. 17 específicos conceptos de transformación, los cuales no podemos ignorar en el transcurso de una ejecución. No se puede hacer menos. Y cada vez refino. En esta última implementación, refiné esa visión. Se las enseñé a ustedes. Ustedes fueron los primeros. Ni Ross la vio. Hoy, ¿qué dijo Ross? Oh, sí, pum. Ya lo validé con él, ¿verdad? Entonces ya dice, oh, me gustó, me añadiste eso, expandiste esa línea, abriste los influencers. ¿Sí? ¿Por qué? Porque lo estoy viviendo ahorita. Y ustedes fueron los primeros en los cuales te lo enseñé. Y no se encierren en ser el coach ágil. No es coach ágil. es coach. Porque de repente se van a meter, oh, que estoy aquí en el coaching ágil. No. You're coaching the system. La semana pasada hablamos de eso, un poco. Pero you are coaching the system. Number one, coaching to the outcomes. Number two, coaching the system. Coaching to the outcomes. Si ustedes ya pueden decir, tengo el outcome, coach to the outcome all the way down. Coaching the system quiere decir que cada paso, cada cosa que hacemos es para mejorar el sistema, no simplemente para mejorar una llanta del carro. Número 3, cuando ustedes hagan esos, focus on keywords. Enfócate en los key roles. Son 5 partes, pero le voy a dejar 3, porque les estoy dando bastante de pensar. Necesito que ustedes practiquen con más intención, porque todavía están en el coaching agile. Están hablando con VPs y todavía están en el coaching agile. Cuando yo les pregunto a ustedes, ¿qué ustedes escucharon? Me gustó esa corrección, ese enfoque, ahora fueron atrás de la conversación. Eso quiere decir, cuando ustedes escuchan unas palabras, escuchen ciertas conversaciones, si el sensor está bien puesto, no toma segundos decir, escuché esto, esto y esto. Pero como el sensor no está puesto, tienes que regresar a la conversación, poner play, escuchar la conversación otra vez. Oh, ahí está la palabra. Estás todavía en el coaching agile mode. Nosotros somos un SWAT team. We cannot think. No podemos pensar más en ser un coach que entró a un equipo o a 3 equipos y 4 equipos y su mundo se convierte en eso. No importa si ese es el trabajo que aceptaste. Si no estás viendo la foto completa y si no estás ejecutando tu día a día para mejorar el sistema, entonces estás desperdiciando tu tiempo como coach. Yo ahora mismo le estoy diciendo, a mí no me molestaría que voy a cualquier compañía y soy un coach de equipo. Perfecto, me meto como coach de equipo. ¿Sabe por qué? Porque yo sé que dentro de poco tiempo yo voy a estar coaching the whole system. No es para mí, es como decir, alacrán va a ser alacrán. Mete la mano en la cajita, de repente te va a picar. Es alacrán. Nosotros somos coaches de sistemas. Ponme donde me pongas, yo voy a coach el sistema. Y todo lo que yo hago, no me importa si me des un equipo, en una semana tengo 2 y 3. Y en la otra semana tengo un tren. Y en el otro mes y en el siguiente cuarto ya tengo el portafolio. ¿Por qué? Porque ya I'm coaching the system. Eso es lo que quiero que aprendan a pensar con la foto completa y poder navegar en esa estructura del Environment for Success. ¿Hace sentido esto, señores? Yo espero que esto le esté haciendo sentido a ustedes y que esto de veras les esté ayudando, porque quiero que ahora practiquen. Es la hora de practicar donde están. Ustedes tengan bien claro lo que es the Agility Wheel. ¿Se recuerdan de la Agility Wheel? Si no se acuerdan, hay que hacer una sesión. Todos estos son conceptos que se van a hacer más sentido cuando ustedes empiecen a pensar como coach empresarial, coach estratégico. ¿Por qué? Porque agilidad tiene conceptos core de DNA, del DNA de la agilidad. Tiene estos conceptos. Y ahí es donde yo quiero que ustedes se pongan muy aware. Clarity, visibility, transparency. Son 3 aquí. Alignment. 4, ¿verdad? ¿Y qué es el círculo? ¿Qué hace falta? Collaboration. Mire, cuando ustedes empiecen de veras a sentir estas conexiones, la chingada se cayó. Cuando ustedes empiezan a sentir estas conexiones y ustedes empiezan a ver lo importante que es donde vayan, agilidad, tiene estos 4 axes. Cada uno de esos significa algo muy importante para tu ambiente de éxito, para el environment for success. Ahora, imagínense, están operando dentro de un environment for success. ¿Por qué le estoy tratando de empujar esto? Estoy tratando de empujar esto porque si ustedes no se identifican dentro de ese environment, van a estar por todos lados, se van a ver ocupados y nada va a moverse. Vas a tener a alguien acá que, sí, me gusta Eric. Que está bien acá. Pero, puras hablar. Cuando ustedes empiecen a ver, este es el ambiente, estos son la gente, estos son los roles, estos son los niveles, estos son los influencers, estos son los stakeholders, estos son los interesados, estos son los... Cuando usted tenga esta respuesta, y así es como hoy, se reúnen 3 veces, 4 veces, 0 veces, no tienen cadencia, excelente. No tienen transparencia, no tienen visibilidad, no tienen claridad. Colaboración es pobre. Pero que ustedes estén entendiendo el porqué de estos puntos a no ignorar, porque de esa forma es como te vas a poder habilitar como un agente de cambio que sabe dónde ir. Estás en un ambiente, mapéate en ese ambiente, regresen y pinten lo que ya saben ustedes hoy de ese ambiente. No le tengan miedo a ese ejercicio, píntenlo, complejo o no, así como yo lo pude dibujar ahí, píntenlo. Ya con eso van a poder entonces empezar a decir qué de agilidad ese ambiente puede recibir. Junta los manguitos bajos. ¿Qué es? ¿Qué del ambiente de éxito la agilidad le puede ofrecer? Y pregúntense eso. ¿Estoy trabajando en qué? ¿Están trabajando en claridad? ¿Están trabajando en transparencia? ¿O están trabajando en visibilidad? ¿O están trabajando en alignment? ¿O están trabajando en colaboración? ¿En qué están trabajando ustedes ahora mismo? ¿Cuál es su enfoque? ¿O en todo? Por eso que no hacen nada, porque como está en todo, el impacto es mínimo. Siendo estratégico, te van a dar cuenta que de agilidad es la área que debemos enfocarnos más basado en lo que conozco de la